Hello.
Hi, Leah.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Where are you coming out of?
I am in Washington State. What about you?
Okay, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Where are you at in Washington?
We're north central Washington. I'm
Yeah.
basically the center of the state.
Okay, I got
So,
you.
so about 2.5 hours from Seattle, 2.5 hours from Spokane, if you're
Okay.
familiar with
Yeah.
those two.
Yeah. I actually
So,
went up. I was really into the whole grunge scene in my 20s, and I went up to Seattle. I think it was in 96. So
okay.
I remember getting like some demo disc of Pearl Jam and bringing it back here, and it was like I had the Willy Wonka ticket. It was
That is amazing.
it was
That is amazing. So, uh-huh.
Yeah, and the other really cool thing that happened when I was up there is I went to a club. I can't remember the name of it. It was like hotel or something. And the drummer of Soundgarden walks in and they're all like, "Look, this is the scene. You don't go up. People are cool." And we went in this back room and it just felt different from what I was used to being in a club. Seattle had a different vibe to it. And the
Yep.
drummer was hitting his bass so hard that the mic fell down. And the one person in the crowd that ran up there to help was the dude from Soundgarden, like this mega guy. And at that time in 96, he was at the height of his powers. He's just trolloping up there helping this guy out. So it was pretty cool.
That is awesome. That is so cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I grew up in Seattle area and
Yeah.
my older brother massively in that scene
Yeah.
and was a drummer and so anyway, so yeah, very
Yeah.
fun. That's
Right on.
awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. So let's get into your life. And I want to begin the conversation with what we just went through for the last 3 years with COVID. How did you survive it? And how has it changed you?
To be honest, I maybe am one of the rare few who can see the positive and like
Yeah.
can and admit like I actually kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I have always worked from home. Well, for the last 12 to 14 years,
Mhm.
and have worked very hard to have boundaries, systems, all these things in place to protect my time freedom, and to be able to have all those. So it actually was not that dramatic of a difference. I was already working from home. We had two of our kids already doing online hybrid learning from home. So only one came home from the public school system. So we really used that time to just be closer together as a family. I would say the biggest thing that I really noticed from COVID, and of course, we had, people and friends who had COVID, we got COVID, right? Like we went through all of that too, that everybody went through. But if I'm looking at what lessons did I learn, we suddenly had all of our schedules cleared,
Mhm.
right? Like no one is asking you to leave to go do all the things. And as we came out of COVID, we really asked the question, what are we going to allow back into our schedules? And what are we going to keep off of them so that we can better protect our family time, our creative time, just those different things that were high priority and are high priority for us.
Yeah, no, that's well said. So there's so many things that are a part of what you do from being an international speaker, podcast host, system strategist, but let's simplify it a little bit or let's get to the essence of it. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day. Okay. And one of the kids looks up and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
You know how mom and dad are looking at their phones a lot, and sometimes you get frustrated because you feel like, just pay attention to me. I help your mom and dad be able to stop looking at their phones and the computer so much and have more time for you.
So, what did you want to be in the third grade?
Whitney Houston.
Okay. All
Hands
right.
down, Whitney
Bodyguard,
Houston.
that era kind of thing.
Yep. I used to practice my lip quiver.
Yep.
Clearly, not the direction I went, probably a very good thing. But I
Yeah.
also always loved telling people what to do. Like if I look back and I'm super honest, I'm the oldest, I'm a big sister. I
Yeah.
like, bossing people around, and I found a career where I get to tell people what to do, but in maybe a nicer way.
Yeah, right. Dream job. So let's get back to those roots. Tell me where you were born and raised and the seeds that were planted into you to become who you are and to be a speaker and to be somebody that's helping others.
So I was raised in the suburbs of Seattle area in Washington. And my childhood was actually pretty hard. I had a lot of bad things happening at home. I am dyslexic, ADHD, certifiably, both of those. I know those are terms everyone wants to use and say
Yeah.
they're, oh, I have ADD. I actually do.
Yep.
And so school was incredibly hard. I did not believe I was capable of anything. I had teachers tell me, you have no hope of going to college. You are not smart. You are stupid. Are you trying to pretend to be this stupid? I mean, so
Wow.
my growing up said, I am not capable. And, if these people who are supposed to believe in you don't, then clearly they must be right. And it wasn't until I hit my 20s that I started understanding that I was actually really good at learning. It just needed to be in my way. And that all of that dyslexia made me very creative because I have never had plan A work the way it's supposed to. Like, I
Right.
don't ever go in and go, oh yeah, I'm totally going to get this. I'm like, we're going to need a lot of different plans here. And I'm okay with that. I'm used to that.
Yeah.
And I think that actually became maybe one of my superpowers
Hmm.
with entrepreneurship, because I didn't ever expect it to work the first time. And I didn't expect that I knew everything. I didn't expect that things should be conventional. I'm very used to always doing everything unconventional. The way it works for everybody else doesn't work for me. And I went to my business like that. Well, why can't I? Why can't I figure out how to make this work and create the lifestyle that I really want? And so that's what I went after.
It's interesting. My son's on the autism spectrum. He's 18, and I've been in the special ed world for a long, long time. And just thinking about how things used to be, where it was kind of like with COVID, like mental health became something that's not just, oh, get over it. You just don't feel good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
more of a thing that people are having empathy for, and they really try to help other people. Because I can even tell with Miles, when we're out and about, there's a level of people that instantly recognize, and they kind of turn a corner pretty quick, and there's an empathy, there's a special emphasis that's a little bit different, not special treatment, but it's like people are more aware. And I think that's good. I mean, even with dyslexia and ADHD and things that go into not being what we would call neurotypical. What is neurotypical? It's like saying, who's a natural American? I got Italian blood in me. I got Irish blood in me. I got all this blood. Who's a natural American? Right?
Right.
It's that whole idea that everybody thinks that there's just some homogenized way that we fall into some Tetris winning cycle, and it's just not the way it is. We're all different pieces that just get lodged together, and somehow we got to be patient enough to make it make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think that it can be really beautiful that the things that are our hardships can become our superpowers
Yep.
if we are shown that they're good, that they
Yeah.
can be, they can be good.
That's interesting, because that's what I was thinking too when you were saying that. I got lost for a minute, that there's things that Miles does that are definitely a part of what he's had to go through, which has been therapies his whole life, been extra levels of education and care that make him interact with the world in a completely different way. So it's
Yeah.
interesting how it all becomes a part of your DNA.
Absolutely. I see all of these jokes all the time about, oh, I forgot what I was doing because I'm ADD. And I find the humor in them because I completely understand that. But I also look at that and I think, but it doesn't have to be that way. They know
Right.
that, right?
Right.
Because I put in a million systems because I know this about me. I know who I am. I
Yep.
know that's going to happen. And I am a dyslexic ADD person who is obsessed with systems, who is a
Yeah.
systems strategist. So how the heck that happens? That's because I saw the problems that honestly I was creating, I was inflicting because of my own personality. I'm like,
Sure.
I've got to solve these. The other day, I was trying to do something with a white sweater, and I kept getting sidetracked. And I needed to bring the white sweater, anyways. It needed to be hung dry. I literally just started saying white sweater, white sweater, white sweater, white sweater. I
Uh-huh.
would not stop even saying it
Yeah.
until I got myself to do it right. Like I use these little triggers and these tools.
Yeah.
I use timers and alarms and a million other things to help myself from these different things that could be a block or a hindrance for me, but don't have to be.
So your psychology has grown this tree that's boded you well for business.
Absolutely. I believe that everything is figure outable.
Hmm.
We can solve everything, and maybe there's also the fact that I am very optimistic by nature. And so as I saw the problems that I personally was facing, I started my first business, and the pendulum swung too hard. I didn't have those systems in place. I was drowning in guilt and overwhelm and sleep deprivation. I was exhausted 24/7, but I was also our sole breadwinner, and I needed to do what I had to do. And I saw this and I thought there has got to be a better way. And so I started searching for finding that. And I definitely looked outside the box. I was at that time a very high-end portrait photographer, and I actually studied McDonald's of all places to try to figure out like how can I create the same high-end incredible experience and duplicate it, but in a systematic form. And I was just thinking about McDonald's and how it doesn't matter where you are in the world, your hamburger will taste the exact same. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay, how do I do that? And so I just started looking for these opportunities. And then as I was figuring that out, I started thinking, okay, surely I'm not the only one. Surely I am not the only mother out there trying to be everything and feel like I'm not doing any of it well enough. And
Yeah.
as I got these systems in place, and as I started getting my time back and feeling like I was in control, that I owned my time instead of constantly feeling like time was out to get me and it was always winning, I started sharing those things. And then that developed me into being able to teach and speak and all of these other opportunities that came.
One of my best friends used to live in downtown Kansas City back in my 20s, around the time that I went to Seattle. And his dad had a photographic studio, and they did food, and they used to have to cook all the food up and make it look perfect. And the beauty was is that I got to see how arduous that was, but they also got to eat all of it. So they would get all this sushi catered and all this food, and they would just eat like kings, and it was just great. But there's a lot of work that goes into that. I mean, like when you see like a burger up there, I mean, there's somebody that's prepping with just a little bit of water, squirting it on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's
Yes,
so many
absolutely.
aesthetics that go into it that no one even realizes. Because you're like,
Yeah.
there's water on there. It's like, yeah, how do you think it gleans? That bun doesn't glean when you open it up in a drive-through lane in your car.
Yeah,
But it,
exactly. That bowl of cereal, how do you think that cereal isn't going down to the
yeah,
bottom? It's literally
exactly.
sitting in Elmer's glue.
Of
That's
course.
how it's getting
Of
that
course.
look of just sitting there. Yeah.
Yep. That's it. The art of deception, subtle deception. So, who's been a hero for you in your life?
Oh, that's a good question. And of course, in this moment, I can't think of anyone, which is so inaccurate. Honestly, I have just loved studying all kinds of people. I'm a people watcher. I'm that very awkward person who is accidentally staring way too hard
Mhm.
and just enjoys observing. I think that probably comes from not having the best examples of what a good marriage or family or boundaries or right what all those things look like. I'm a natural watcher, and so I am constantly just studying and watching all kinds of people and just looking for, now how could I translate that, like how could that thing that I admire in them be translated into what I do and who I am.
So, if you can meet anybody alive on the planet today that you like, that you admire, and you could spend some time with them, who would it be?
Oh, Russell M. Nelson. He um is a renowned heart surgeon, was retired. He had this incredible career in heart surgery. He is now the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He is, I think he just turned 99 and is
Wow.
like outpacing, I mean, people, he'd outpace me, right? And I would love to sit down and just ask him all the questions, like just
Yeah.
find out about um I think I'm especially inspired by the fact that he is so aware of all of the problems that our world faces and yet stays optimistic and
Yep.
positive. And so I would love to sit down and talk with him.
So you clearly have a high level of energy and motivation. What is that motivation for you every day to get up, to do what you want to do, to accomplish what you want to get done? What is that for you?
Happy family. That's
Yeah.
100% for me. I didn't know that that existed when I was a kid. I truly believed that it didn't. And I, looked at all the people in my sphere and I thought, oh, this isn't real. And I remember the first time I actually saw what seemed like a happy family. And I thought they were faking it because that's what I was familiar with. You put on a good show when people are watching. And the reason that I knew that they weren't faking it, I was about 19 years old. And I was at my boyfriend's family's house, his parents' house. And I had turned and looked behind me and I saw his dad come over and pinch his mom's butt. And he thought no one was looking. And I saw her kind of swat at him and them giggle and him give her a kiss. And I was like, they actually love each other. Like, this is real. They're not putting on a show. And I believe in happy families. I believe that family is the most important thing that we have. And so for me, like, that's the energy. Like, when I think about working out and exercising, I'm doing it for my future grandkids. I'm like, so help me, they are going to have to keep up with me, not me trying to keep up with them.
Yeah.
When I think about the business that I'm trying to grow, I think about, being able to create this example for my daughters and my son and show them that we can have careers that we're passionate about and that inspire us and that we love, but also that balance of, home life. So yeah, I think it's happy families.
So what's been your best success story as a professional? One that always puts a smile on your face?
Mm. I think for me, it's absolutely hands down having people come up and tell me how I've affected them. Like, that's incredible
Mhm.
to think that little me has been able to affect someone else's life in a positive way. I know the statistics about the way that I grew up and what I should be. And so when someone comes and shares that, I'm, maybe speaking at a conference and someone comes up and says, I came because of you, because I heard you were speaking here and you've helped me with this. My marriage is better. My balance is better, right? I'm feeling like I work-life balance, not their true balance. I'm feeling like I, feel better about myself. I'm more confident. My kids are happier. All these things are better. My business is growing. That is hands down the thing that makes my heart so happy. And I'm so grateful I put myself out there. When I first wanted to speak, well, no one knew who I was. No one was going to like invite me to speak. So I put on my own thing. I was like, fine, you won't take me. I'll come up with my own. And I
Mhm.
put on my own. And then that led to me being able to say, I have spoke somewhere, even though it was my own workshop, and I got invited to the next one. And then that one, people saw me and said, oh, we want you at ours. And then that created those next invitations. So I also think that I'm really proud of um, being brazen, I
Yeah.
guess, like having the gumption to say, why not me? And I think so often we go around and we say, well, who am I to think I should be able to? And I would love to just switch that for people and say, if you really believe you can make a difference, that you can help someone, then who are you
Yeah.
not to try and share what you have, what the knowledge that you have?
So if you were to have a dream tonight, you ran into that 19-year-old version of you that was at your boyfriend's house, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the life you've lived up to this point, the wisdom you've gained. What advice would you give your younger version?
Stop worrying so much. It's all going to work out. And I'm still learning that lesson.
Yeah.
I find myself stressing about these things. And so far, I have a 100% track record of it all works out. And so does everybody else. If you're still breathing, if you woke up today and you can listen to this and you can make changes, then that's the truth for you also. And yet, oh, I have spent so much energy and time worrying, especially after things that I have zero control over.
Yeah.
Like, I can't make it change one way or another. And yet I'm giving all this energy to worrying about it. I would go to her and I would say, it is all going to work out. So start learning how to worry less and just believe and then take action. Like our effort gets magnified. So just, taking that action.
So if you could see any event that's transpired on this planet in human history and watch it happen before your own eyes, what would you love to have seen?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I have a running list. Like I hope that in heaven we can like ask to watch like movies, but they were of like real life, right? I've
Yeah.
got this huge list of like, I want to see how that went. I want to see how that went. So I have a huge, huge list of different things that I would love to watch and understand. But something that comes to mind is I really love studying Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
And he had this time in his early life where he was very fiery. He liked to call people out, and he would write letters and then leave them on the street side so that people would find them, and then the word would spread, but he would write them anonymously. Well, then one day it was identified that it was him. He was called to a duel. I mean, his life could have ended right there. He was able to get out of that duel, and he made this commitment to not talk ill of other people. And so through the rest of his life, he's known as this person who's so reserved and patient and doesn't lose his temper. And yet that wasn't him in his early years. So there's just these stories of him being able to talk out how he was feeling, and someone else would just sit in a corner and basically listen. And he would get it all out there. I think it would be really fun to actually get to listen in on some of those intimate conversations and hear what was being shared and how he kind of worked through to go from feeling frustrated about how something was going and his lack of control to get people to take the action he wanted, to being able to have this sense of like, but I can see it from your perspective, and go to that place.
Yeah, for sure. So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What is your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I am loud, a little bit too loud. I think I have a lot of energy, and I am crazy passionate, and that I am genuinely happy. And I want other people to get to feel and be happy. Above everything, I am a wife and a mom. And it's funny because, some people see me just as they've met me because I spoke at a conference or a convention. So that's how they know me, or they know me from my podcast, Balancing Busy, and which then they're going to definitely know my mom's side because I talk about all those things a lot. But above everything else, I am a wife and a mom.
So if anyone wants to listen to the podcast, anything about you being your speaking, your strategies, any of those things, where can they go? Where's the best place?
Balancing Busy. So the podcast is Balancing Busy. Go and find that and subscribe and listen. Website, balancingbusy.com. On social media, everything is Leah Remillet, which I get is tricky. So just go find Balancing Busy and it'll link you to everywhere else.
Just a little French at the end. It's fine.
Yeah, that's right.
We can get rid of the T. It's no problem. It's good. Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for opening up about your story. It's been wonderful. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Take care.